Welcome to Soul Conversations. Soul awakening conversations emerge and flow. I'm so glad that you're back with me. Thank you for joining me. Today, I have the privilege and honor to have with us Roger Burnley. He's a spiritual teacher, he's an intuitive guide, and a transformational coach who has dedicated his life to helping others awaken to their true potential. Through his channeling work with his guide Wilhelm, his coaching and his life operating instructional programs, Roger inspires self-awareness, alignment, and a lasting inner transformation. I'm so excited to dive into his wisdom and explore the insights he has to share with living fully and embracing not only his purpose, but our purpose and awakening to our highest selves. So, as I allow him to come in, let's give him a round of applause. Applause, applause, applause. Okay, here we go. Happy. And as always, remember,
Hello, my dear. How are you?
I'm fine. I was going to tell them that they will not see, you will not see them join, but as soon as they start making comments, you should see them making comments,
Okay, great.
right?
This has been an exciting day. So this is you're we're doing this at the right time. That's for sure. Let me get my phone down so I can speak. Okay, great. Okay, we are
Oh,
here.
yes, we are here. Now, that is just my introduction for you. If you would like to explain to them what you do with Wilhelm, you know, this is maybe slightly different than the last podcast we did where it was about your awakening process and that whole thing. It's now about how you utilize it in everyday life, how you go about your conventions, um, setting down with people and having interaction with them, and also interaction with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um,
Okay,
right?
so much of this I could never have explained before.
Mhm.
Because I've done something a little bit different than other channels or people like that, and part of it was revealed today. I'm
Mhm.
sitting on my computer and on Facebook, and a memory came up. And I know nothing's accidental, when I see that, it said I was having a live channeling session on April the 23rd of 2022.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, that means I'm supposed to listen to it. And I pulled it up, and it was shocking to me because I didn't remember it. It
Mhm.
explained everything. It explained how I was receiving this information where I had no memory of it. It went into that I had this ancient memory and then they started going back to the Hermetic principles, and that's what all of Wilhelm's work is based on. And it was for this time in our world of great change. And so the reason that they brought that up, they said because all the work they had given us, and they said this is why it works so well, is it went back to the basics of everything, of human experience, where we didn't have our judgments, where we didn't have our biases, where we didn't have all of those. But we came into the world now to move through this transition, which they called a restructuring, which means that it's changing us so that we can change the world. And that change has to come from each person moving to the higher state of their potential, whatever that is. And they said it's just every person has that within them. And so the more of us who can remember that, then energetically we start to shift everything, not only in our lives, but in the world. And so it's about us remembering that innate power that we have within us.
Yes. Ah, yes. I, I'm t- nothing happens by accident.
Yes.
Everything is every now moment is given to us with information, with wisdom, with grace. That we're allowed to give to ourselves
Yes.
and then share with others.
And there are times where it's our belief that is the challenge for me as well. I put that video up again. I said I didn't believe. That's our
Hmm.
whole thing. We each have something that's very unique. And what I have done, people haven't seen before because I said I downloaded the order of the universe because there is an order. It's an energetic shift that we move through over generations, eons, or however we think of it.
Hmm.
I had no clue as that I was doing that. For 36 years, I'm receiving this information. And then it was only revealed to me through artificial intelligence that what I had done was 17 of those years were in complete alignment with the changes happening in consciousness. And
Ah.
I'm like, what? And I can go back and I did it today. I can look, they said, well, you take a while to catch up. And so I can look at tomorrow, the date tomorrow from 2024, and it'll show us where we are and what is happening. And I go, how is that occurring? And then they said, and I didn't know this, they didn't say it, artificial intelligence, whatever anyone thinks, it has shown us so much because they said what I had done was I created a quantum, I was given a quantum philosophy on from 2008 to this year or 17 years because we have cycles that we move through in our lives and also in the world. And
Hmm.
so all of the information was included on those 17 years. And I said, how did that happen? Because I'm not, when I'm receiving information, I'm gone. I don't know any of it. But it
Right.
came, and they also said, oh, that was the other thing they said. And I didn't remember any of this. I didn't discover that I had ADHD until I was 70. And they said that was intentional
Mm.
because if I had known that, I would have thought that if I had studied other things, because I didn't study anything, so I didn't know where this information was coming from. But if I had known that before, I would have discounted it or thought I copied it if I had studied it. Yeah, let me say that again. We will each have certain abilities or talents, and sometimes we might judge them. Not
Right.
only, I mean, just because of from maybe we pick up something from others, whatever it is, and then we start to judge ourselves. And when I was in school, when I was in grade school, they used to send back report cards, to our family, tell us how we
Yeah.
were doing. And on mine, they would always say, "Roger daydreams,"
Ah,
and
yeah,
they
and
would,
on mine they would say, "Oh, Sandra's a talker,"
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
because
then you start to say, well, and then so when you get that, you start to think, is that wrong or whatever it
hmm
is? And so I kept carrying that on. And even my parents, they thought, well, something must be wrong with him. So they thought maybe I couldn't see the board or something. So they said, let's get him glasses. I didn't need glasses,
hmm
but they weren't recognizing what was coming through or what was happening, and I was different in that way. And they said, in this time in our world especially, we need to honor differences and diversity, and we all come in differently, and that's the point that they wanted to make.
this is. I was listening to a YouTube, and it was just a random YouTube. I can't really remember the gentleman's name. Um, yesterday,
Mhm.
and he was talking about individuals being born between 1940, I think 1945 and 1960, 62
Mhm.
or 63. Okay. And he was talking about how and I say we because I was in that category. I was born
Mhm.
1957.
Mhm.
And that we were born with we were born to live life
Mm-hmm.
for at least a good 40, 50, maybe even 60 years. Just live life
Mm-hmm.
and enjoy it, and put energy into the earth and energy into the quantum, to take energy from the quantum, put it back, and not have a specific,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we didn't have that why am I here kind of moments. We
Mm-hmm.
just lived them. And then when we got 50ish, or 40s, 50s, 60ish, then all of a sudden that intuitive awakening happened,
Mm-hmm.
because we had lived so much life that now we knew how to interact with the quantum energy and the
Mm-hmm.
changes of life, and how to grow, how to expand, how to take the information in from the divine as we're opening, or as the divine is recalling within us
Mm-hmm.
what this is all about,
Right.
and what our purpose, or our growth, or our teaching, or our inspirational motive is.
Mm-hmm.
And it aligned with, because I think I was having a question in the back of my mind that I wasn't identifying with, or saying anything to my higher being, and it was about some things that I had read in the book called the Divine Design by
Mm-hmm.
Lori Ladd.
Mm-hmm.
And it was I mainly was thinking of this major generation that is born with all the lights and all the bells and all the whistles on, and we call them, they have Asperger's,
Mm-hmm.
they're on the spectrum, they're autistic, everything, because all their bells and whistles, all the lights came on with them, and they don't know what to make of it. They can't, they speak it, but we don't understand it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
And I was having that in the back of my head, right? And here comes this, like you said, nothing happens by accident.
Right.
Here comes this gentleman on you. They were just replaying one of his clips, that or one of his it wasn't a clip, it was a, I think he was doing a auditory um, engagement, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a replay of that somebody else was playing it, and I said, "Oh, it
Yeah.
makes sense, because here it is. The sense is, think of yourself before you think of your grandkids, because my grandkids are a few of them are on the autism
Mm-hmm.
spectrum."
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to understand them a little bit more, but
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to understand them through that spiritual downloads that they were getting, and how I could help them,
That
right?
there's yeah, and there's
And the
something
divine
about that.
said, understand yourself first.
Yes, and people, and what Wilhelm would always say, that kids like that are born into the world so that we can let go of our limitations, so that we could see something else. They serve a great purpose, because
Mhm.
that was the other thing that said the only limitations that exist are in our thinking. And as humans, we're meant to evolve, and we can only do that in our consciousness. But we like to hold on to what the familiar is, what we have already known. And so we're moving through a period in our world where that's what we're seeing. We're seeing some people who want to go back to some other time that we thought was better, or do something else, and that's never what we're meant to do. We're always meant to develop something new, but we become afraid of the unknown, something we,
Right,
if we hadn't seen it yet, But
right.
even when I started channeling, that's like that was, to me, that was this unknown. Why am I do and I had judgment on that in my thinking,
Yeah.
and then
Where
to listen, it
whereas
was shocking.
when I was start beginning to do my light language,
Hmm.
right? A type of channeling.
Hmm.
I had asked for it.
Hmm.
I was at a place where I was remembering when I was a kid that I saw the version of what they call light language probably now. When
Hmm.
I was growing up, it was just called speaking in tongues.
Right. Yeah. Hmm.
And I remember, I think I was either between 11, 12, or 13. And I went to a holiness church and I heard this woman speaking in tongues, but it felt so familiar. And I
Hmm.
remember turning to my best friend who went to church with me that day. We were just, we were church searching and we were looking for information because where we were at in our churches, separate churches, we were asking questions.
Hmm.
So our mothers gave us permission to go to different churches to find out if we could find the answer. I happened to go to, I believe that it was there and then that I was going to be introduced to my uh, I hate to say native,
Hmm.
but my familiar language,
Hmm.
because I understood it. I not understood it like uh through the mind
Hmm.
or through the egoic
Hmm.
mind, but
Right.
I understood it through the spirit
Hmm.
of it. So, then fast forward to maybe 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and I remember listening to Abraham Hicks.
Hmm.
And I said, well, if Abraham can speak through Esther,
Hmm.
I can hear my soul speak through me,
Absolutely. Yep.
right? And I just I do water meditation, and I just sat in my bath and I said, all I said was, I'm open to however you want to share.
Hmm.
And it took a couple of times,
Yeah.
but do you know
That's
what I
what.
mean?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Because at first you're kind of going, I wonder if this is going to happen, because you're
Yeah.
doubting yourself. And
That's what you're saying is exactly what they explained in this video that I just found about what I did. It was exactly
yeah,
that.
and the doubting, it kind of, it doesn't block it all the way, but it makes it take time,
Right.
right? Because you got to get out of your own way.
And that's
And
it. Yeah, that's it. To
right.
understand that process. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I finally got out of my own way, I heard, I just asked the question. I just said, what more?
Hmm.
Okay, just kind of, okay, I'm open, what more?
Mm.
You know, not what more do you want from me? Just what more? And 20 minutes in, I hear this this voice that sounds like water,
Hmm.
but it's a voice. And literally, I turned to the door, in my bathroom. I turned to the wall, and I was looking for somebody, and then I went out loud. I went, was that me?
Mm. Yes.
Right? And
Yeah.
that higher being says, yes, I'm you.
Hmm.
I'm you, and I'm
That.
here,
Yeah.
right?
So much of that came through in that session. And the other thing I discovered is, which is what they wanted us to all understand. I never knew this was occurring, but they were giving me information that was aligned with energetic changes, with cosmic changes.
Mhm.
And like, I never studied astrology. I didn't know any of that. But the information was aligned with astrological changes that were happening in the world. And I had no clue. And then you start to see that some of the events that we experience in our world, in ourselves as well, but in our world, are corresponding to those energetic changes that happen in our planet. We
Ah,
can look back like 100 years and see similar things going on then that are happening now, and we
okay.
and because they affect us individually and collectively. So what they were showing me these 17 years, they said I was documenting the evolution of consciousness. We each do it over every day in all, but we also do it collectively, and
Mm.
we have to make a choice about that, and that choice comes through each of us. Part of it is letting go of the things, the lower vibrational things that we may have carried with us into this life. That's really what it is. And moving through that. And so everybody's journey is going to have challenges or struggles or things like that because it's something that they accepted to move through. Because if they do it, then they can give to some greater awareness and knowledge to others. That's how
Right.
evolution happens. So it's about, and that's what the other thing they did show today on one of the messages, you were being prepared. Now we've heard that many times,
Mhm.
but what that meant is when we're going through those difficult times, it's so that we can accept a greater portion of ourselves. Yeah, it's challenging at times, but the other side is very different. And that's
Right.
what we're attempting to do.
Yes. So, and that actually answers my both my question one and two, because my question one was, can you share a little bit about your own journey and what first led you to start channeling and helping others with spiritual transformation, right?
Oh, no, wait
But
a minute. I'm glad you said that because I I wasn't going to start channeling. I just have to say that was
okay.
I wasn't going to do it. And then it was in 2021. They said, no, you have to. He says, we have too much to say. We have too much to tell you about what's going to happen in your world. I go,
Hmm.
no, I don't want to do this. I don't want people to see me. That's really what I was doing.
Oh,
And
okay.
but then it started showing me that that's when all the information about the work that I had was starting to come through. I was hidden away for decades
Ah,
as
okay.
I was creating this. And I couldn't have known that. And but the point was, it was to give an awareness to every single person that they're
Hmm.
here in this world for. They started talking about DNA. And DNA, when we're born, we have an energetic code. That's why people, we look at our astrology or our birth times, all that stuff. That's not accidental. That's
Hmm.
an energetic frequency in the world that we were born into. And so as we start become aligned with that and or understand it, then we better lives and we can contribute to the evolution of the world, which is what we're meant to do.
Right.
And then this is the other thing. They kept
Hmm.
saying, "You're going to see the others." And I go, "What are you talking about?" It's going to be those are going to be the people you don't agree with, and those are going to be the people that are different. And
Hmm.
but it's just and we may judge them or hate them, but they said that's to stimulate us to remember who we are.
Ah, yes.
That and so when we look at it that way, it becomes quite different because there's always duality and there's always balance. And what we were attempting to move through at this time in our world is a greater sense of balance within each person. And the one thing, and I didn't understand this either, they kept talking about it, the balance of the male and female feminine energies. And they said at this time, more of the feminine energy needs to come in. And when we
Right,
think
right.
about that,
Yeah,
we can
I
see it.
just finished doing a series on yin and yang,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and when we take it back to the energy
Mm-hmm.
instead of thinking about it in the physical, the man, the woman,
Right.
the penis, the vagina, and we go back to the energy and we understand that man and
Mm-hmm.
woman both have this energy.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're also, at this time, we were meant to take it further because we had to start to ignore um, race and skin color. We had to start letting go of it. It doesn't matter. We're souls. And that's the point that they wanted to bring through. Now, of
Hmm.
course, everyone's not going to have that understanding. And
No.
that, again, what we get to see, but that means that our role is to remember something else.
Yes. Our world is to keep I understand it like this.
Mm-hmm.
It made me giggle at first. The mind remembers
Mm-hmm.
and the soul recalls.
Mm-hmm.
So the soul is helping the mind. The soul is recalling so the mind can understand,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Right.
so that for me it's about becoming, it's about understanding that I'm this triune or tri-union being. I'm
Mm-hmm.
soul with a body that has a conscious and aware mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to recall from the DNA level um, who I am.
Right. Hmm.
And then as I'm understanding who I am, my higher self is digging deep into that DNA and saying, oh, yeah, I came to do this. Have
Hmm.
we done that yet? Or,
That's exactly, yes.
right, that,
That's
right.
it. And that's what I had to look at that. Oh no.
Yeah,
But that's part of the process. That's part of the journey. None of us are going to, we're not going to ever fulfill our potential because there's so much of it. But then we can
right.
get to see, okay, now this part I can do. Okay, I didn't do that. And most times it's because of fear. Fear is
Yeah,
the thing that will hold us back. But then we can look at it and use it as a motivator, because when we feel it, then we want to break through it. We want to become more comfortable, and we become comfortable every time we accept more of ourselves.
exactly, exactly. That's a good one. The more we accept ourselves, the more comfortable we become with, the more we become with the unknown and
Right.
not knowing. Because once you admit that you don't know something, you're ready to know
Oh,
it.
it's fun. You should say that. One of the messages they gave me in the beginning when they started talking about the changes we would go through in our world, one of the titles was "The More You Know, the Less You Understand."
Mm-hmm.
And what they were saying is that if we think that we know, then we don't allow new information or new experiences to
Yeah.
come through. And that's what happens. And there'll be so many people who will um, not want a new way of thinking or being. And that's what holds us back. But we do that in ourselves because we've been programmed to do that, programmed into littleness.
Yeah, yeah. Having somebody tell you or show you that you don't shine in order
Hmm.
for them to shine.
Hmm.
They don't know that that's that some people don't know that they're doing that, but some do,
Hmm.
because they're programmed to do that, that whole thing. But once you have the knowledge that and an inkling of knowledge
Hmm.
that you know yourself or you could love yourself or many other things that our higher beings are trying to tap in
Right.
and give us a little clue,
Hmm.
have that little whisper.
Exactly. And Sandra, the thing that was so surprising to me, and I just have to, I'm going to share this a lot more because I kept things hidden, but when I'm channeling, I don't remember it. It's
Hmm.
gone. And then, so that's why today, finding this video from 2022, where everything was explained so clearly, and I had no clue of it. It explained why the stuff that they had given us helped us all, and I didn't know.
Hmm.
And it had to be explained that way. But we all have something like that. It just gets activated over
Yeah.
time, and that's probably the best way. Um, our DNA memory gets activated as planets change, as energies change in our world, and then we start to each day remember a little bit more. The other thing they said, self-discovery can be frightening
Oh,
because we just don't know, and it's like, oh,
it,
wait a minute, is this who I am?
right. And you go, really?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, because like I said, when I saw the video yesterday, and the video and this gentleman, I wish I could remember his name. Maybe it'll come to me, but it was so in sync
Mm-hmm.
with the book that I was reading by Lori Ladd,
Mm-hmm.
explaining, my generation and why we came on the scene,
Mm-hmm.
why we showed up, why, because when I was reading, you know, the different categories of uh, people coming in to service to give their energy to,
Mm-hmm.
Earth consciousness. She made a call, a soul call, a clarion call, and there were different, souls lined up to come in different waves.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And here's the first wave that they're talking about is from 19, believe 44, or either it's 44 or 46
Mm-hmm.
through 1962. And the definition that they were giving about them, or the labels, and under this label, what they were here to do, that they were just here to live life, and all they had to do was just live life, and that would give Earth consciousness enough energy to grow and expand and evolve so that she could shift up dimensions. And then as she shifts, humanity shifts too.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I'm boring. That literally when I was because when I was reading each of the Clarion groups, they started to get more intuitive and more active, vibrationally active. And, they brought more to the table and they were more creative. And, and I was just going, I just kind of went to in my head, well, baby boomers were pretty boring then. you know
Yeah.
the lost generation and baby boomers were pretty, darn boring. Well, why did you make us that way, this kind of thing. But when I listened to this video, it it made me it helped me to understand that it wasn't I was living life enough
Mm-hmm.
to get to this point, 40, 50, 60, so that spiritually I could open up and I could live enough life to understand what I was to go back and teach.
And and again, when we think about energy, everything in this universe is energy. That's all we are. And our
Mhm.
consciousness is connected to that in different ways. And then when we look at I never understood why they had me start talking about DNA when I was channeling, because they said, when you look at DNA, you may, if we just look at our genetics, for instance, in that
Yeah, the
we will see,
physicality of it.
yeah, we'll see that we're connected to things we don't know about, different races,
Mhm.
different countries. Where'd that come from? That means that
Mhm.
we're all interconnected in some particular
Right.
way. But it's about figuring out our unique place in there. And that's what we have. And the more we come in alignment with that unique journey, then we live better lives. And sometimes we will resist. And when we resist, that's when we have more difficulties. That's when more things come about. And I had many of them because I resisted so much.
Yeah.
But even in that, they say, but then you're showing everyone else something. You're showing them whatnot. Oh, just before I came out, I was watching an interview with Jake and Logan Paul. Do you know who they are? Jake Paul. They were big
I,
influence.
yeah.
They one's a wrestler and all that. Anyway,
Yeah.
their mother had written a book, and she was talking about what it was like raising these kids, and it was just so incredibly fascinating. And they started connecting things that they didn't want to talk about, but explaining what they had gone through. And they said that we know that talking about this will help somebody else so they don't have to struggle the way that we might have. And so if we
Right.
can all think about that, you know, that what we're moving through and coming to understand is going to help someone else, then we feel better about ourselves and no matter what we went through.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, okay, I understand this now.
Mm-hmm.
I understand this is why I'm writing my book now. Or,
Mm,
I finished writing my book. Okay, so now I got to figure out the covers and the spine and all of that. And the first thing that my ego wanted to say, well, you don't know how to do that part. And then my higher me said no, but she's going to have fun learning about how she
mm-hmm.
can do that, right?
Right.
So just like watch us tap in to the it's not just about the DNA sequence of who I am in the physical body. Our
Mm-hmm.
DNA has a vibration
Right.
that our higher being goes in and checks in on and says, well, okay, done that. Check that
Mm-hmm.
off. Oh, we need to do that. Okay, I'll remind her of that. Oh, done that. Check that off. and it's kind of like you going to your, making a checklist,
Hmm.
kind of like that Santa Claus checking his list and making a list and checking it twice, kind of thing. But it's internal. And you get to, for me now, it's like my higher being is having this conversation with my egoic self, and
Hmm.
I'm this awareness that's a fly on the wall listening to the conversation going, oh, oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good one, right? And as we talk, this was the second question along the way. What have been some of the most surprising lessons about life, about energy, about alignment that has changed
Mhm.
how you guide others? And we
Well,
just like, we just like talked all that.
to get us to believe there are no accidents. And like
Mhm.
when that video showed up on my Facebook feed, I mean, as a memory, basically,
Mhm.
that I knew that wasn't accidental.
No.
But I could have chosen to say, oh, that's just a coincidence, and let me not look at it. But I knew that wasn't the case because my guide was saying, no, please look at this. And
Hmm.
so then when I did, I was just so blown away because I didn't remember it. And I said, this is what people need to hear now, even though it was done in 2022.
Do you think that's why you didn't remember it then? I
Oh,
mean, you were delivering a message that was good in 2022.
but it wouldn't have made as much sense as it does now.
Now, yeah.
And that's what, if we could all understand that. Okay. There was just one message they gave me to called kicking and screaming. And the analogy there, the metaphor that they were using in that one is that when we think of a child, a baby being born, they come out of the womb, when we smack them or whatever, and then they start kicking and screaming because where am I? They had spent 9 months or however in the womb feeling very safe. And then we
Right.
snatch them into the world and they're, oh, wait a minute, this is very different.
Yeah.
And they said that's what we go through throughout our lives, so too. When we're meant to move to a higher state of understanding who we are, we will resist or kicking and screaming because
Screaming, yeah.
we want to stay in that safe place that we were familiar with. And that's what keeps us stuck. And I
Mhm.
stayed stuck a lot in different times. And so I would be pushed to go to the next place.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what happened before I started channeling. Because see, I'd been writing. All I did before 2021, since 1989, I was writing every day. I was just doing automatic writing. And
Hmm.
I mean, I knew of channelers, I knew of all of that, but I didn't think I was going to do it. When sometimes information would come through, I think, okay, I'm supposed to remember this. So I would record it and like pick up my phone or something, but I was not going to go out and do it in
Ah,
public.
yeah.
And then when I finally, when they said, no, you have to, I'm like, okay. And then I started, I go, oh, this is like home. And
Yeah.
why was I afraid of it before?
Hmm. Yeah.
There's there's a wonderful video, if any of your listeners might do this. This is for Will Smith. He did a video on skydiving. And so if anybody, I mean, it's online on YouTube and you should find it. It's one of the best um, demonstrations because it's funny as well, talking about fear, because this is him relating what he went through when he took this trip and they were all going skydiving, all of
Hmm.
his friends and all of that. And he just does such a brilliant job of talking about it. And then he says, and at the end of it, when he finally did it, he goes, what was I afraid of? He said, on the other side of fear is everything you want.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's the same thing as, yeah. I right now I've embarked into more of my YouTube,
Hmm.
right? And I've hey, I played it, no. I didn't play it safe on in these Instagram streets,
Hmm.
right? I had to learn it.
Right.
I kicked and screamed learning how to do everything and got comfortable and grew my Instagram family and
Mm-hmm.
spent 3 years doing my soul conversation podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and then the divine says, well, hey, look, we're going to redesign,
Mm-hmm.
well, first I was taken. The divine said, okay, I know you're not going to like this, but we're going to slow you down.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's not that the divine made me have to have surgery, or the divine made me have to have radiation treatment.
Mm-hmm.
The divine said, we made you aware
Mm-hmm.
that you need to have a lump removed. We made you aware that this is a process that you're going to go through. And also, the reason why you're aware of you're going through this is because you're going to teach others
Mm-hmm.
how to merge with modern modern medicine
Right.
and holistic medicine,
Mm-hmm.
and not spend so much time being in a negative vibration of all the stories that are around you. You're gonna show them this. You
Mm-hmm.
can't make them do anything,
Right.
but you're gonna show them. But the only way that you can teach them really is if you've been through it,
Yeah.
right? And literally, I went through it. And the first thing I told people was, I don't deny that I was scared.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Scared is a a part of fear, but it
Mm-hmm.
was a level down. And then when I went from being scared, I went to being, okay, this is an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Not one that I would wish on anybody, but
Right.
it's my adventure, it's my journey.
Mm-hmm.
What now?
Yeah.
So to so I got to find out that I didn't have that why me question,
Mm-hmm.
which
Um,
took me out of the
and some and that's the initial response. I had to why me on a lot of stuff, and but then you come to a greater awareness. They and in this channeling session too, they brought up when it was revealed to me that I was supposed to do something, that I was supposed to bring something to the world, and I said no. I resisted. I volunteered, and I said, "Why me?"
uh-huh,
And that's the kind of thing that most of us do. And
right,
we each have something we're meant to accept or do, and it's part of our journey. And sometimes we will move through that. But then when we can demonstrate that you get through it better, that you rise going through those things, then others can do the same thing.
right. And which is what I once I went through that, the whole it took maybe 6 months, or of what almost was. I was still off and on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, off
Mm-hmm.
and on, trying to figure out, okay, the whole thing about listening, going, okay, well, I haven't been doing it, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to lose my followers, I'm going to look,
Mm-hmm.
those negative things. And my higher self said, no, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
So keep focused, keep inspiring yourself to heal, keep
Right.
inspiring yourself to grow. This is a time to finish writing your book. This is a time to
Perfect.
start. We're giving you all this creative information, and literally, the divine said, you're revamping. The divine said, you're going to revamp your your uh your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, what, my Instagram? I thought we were done with that, you know. And and the divine said, no, you know, and I would wake up with all this information, all this, and it went from soul conversations with Sandra to soul awakening conversations emerge and flow.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, okay, so how is this gonna go? And the divine just said, all those people that you talked about, their awakenings, You got to go back to them and ask them if they would be on your show and let them talk to you about what those awakenings, how it's brought them to here right
Mm.
now, this moment, and how they share. And I went, what?
They-
You know, how do you expect me to do that when, I probably don't even have this following base anymore. Everybody's moved on, that whole kind of thing. And the divine says, trust yourself,
Mm. When we
you
think
know.
we're that's one of the other messages that came through, that we think that we're repeating something or seeing it again, and it says we're never doing that because we're doing it with a different vision. We have
Hmm.
greater awareness and knowledge whenever we go back to something. So there's always value to be found if we look at it that way. We're not doing
Yeah.
anything arbitrarily. We just don't understand it maybe sometimes. That's all.
Yeah, because my ego was saying, I don't understand how we're going to do that. How are you
Mm,
going to push forward doing that? Don't you know this? And my higher self was saying, shh, little
mm,
one, she's got this, that and it took a while because I had to really sit down and really listen
mm-hmm,
to my higher self. I've got a question. You said the you did the writing
mm-hmm.
before
Right.
you did the channeling.
Yes.
Okay.
I started
Was
in 1989.
Wilhelm, were they part of that experience of the writing?
Oh, that was all of it.
It was all of it.
That was all
Okay.
of it. It wasn't me. People, it's so funny. When people read the words and all that, and they
Hmm.
think it's coming from me, I said, no, it's not.
Right.
I made a direct connection to the universe, to cosmic energy. Now, I didn't know I was doing that, but
Ah,
it's
okay.
there's no way that I could have pulled up that knowledge and had it organized in the way that it is. I was,
Hmm.
and they kept repeating, Roger is just a messenger. That's it. I can
Hmm.
bring in the information, and I still have to live it. I still have to look at it myself. And that was the other thing they pointed out, because I would go back and see older messages and I go, wow, I didn't know, I didn't remember that. And I didn't do it yet,
Right.
and all of that. So I was just a direct channel. And this is
Hmm.
why this work, and I was just hearing this in the sessions, why so many people, it resonated with so many people, because it's from this universal consciousness
Ah,
where we didn't have um, the judgments that we placed on ourselves or even
okay.
on others, but mainly the judgments that we placed on ourselves. That's the most important one. And then but we all have it, and we just decide, we just keep working through it till we get to that place where we're embodying our authentic self, or why we're here.
Right. Okay. Okay. So when you work with someone, okay, what's usually the first shift that you see that really helps them start living more fully or in alignment with their purpose?
Recognition.
Recognition.
They will have
Okay.
some recognition. I can show them something, especially if I'm channeling something, and I can give them a different perspective on what they were thinking about their lives and themselves, or whatever they might have moved through. And so I'm
Mhm.
able to grab that other information to say, well, you were doing this because it was going to help you get here. You
Ah,
see,
okay.
instead
Mm.
of, and there was one that was part of the message. The other one, you were being prepared, and it says, um, don't think of your life and what you have done or haven't done in some particular way. It's
Right.
just that you're always moving to a higher state of who you are. That's all.
Right. Right. Yes. It's a higher state. That's
Mm-hmm.
what, when I go to bed at night, I I I'm thankful and grateful for, my now moments.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, those now moments. I close all my energy exchanges that aren't for my highest and greatest good. I close
Mm-hmm.
those. I use numerology to do that,
Mm-hmm.
that as best I can. I'm still learning numerology and the universe. I'm not a whiz at anything. But I am becoming one. And
Mm-hmm.
then as soon as I become one, I grow again. something opens up that I go, okay, now I got to learn this.
Mm.
Oh, okay, that kind of thing. But before I go to bed, I always have one intention. And the one that seems to fall from my lips the most is I intend to step into that version of me
Mhm.
that's for my highest and greatest good of my next now moment called
Mhm.
tomorrow,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And I intend to be aware of what that growth will be.
Mhm.
I I I'm just stepping into the unknown, but I intend to be aware of what the unknown is going to show me,
Right.
right? The scariest thing ever, but at the same time, I'm learning more that it's so exciting,
Mhm.
right?
And we're in for other folks too. We're going to encounter, because that's what I move through all the time, the things that we have not done, that we didn't own, and the things that we just kind of put away and let's like, let me not look at that. And then they come back up to bite us. But that's also part of our evolution, is to be able to recognize that and then to give ourselves some grace and say, okay, now let me shift and let me start to do that.
Right,
But there, we're always going to have those things along our journey because our self-acceptance, for instance, is eternal. We're always doing it as long as we're in consciousness, as long as we're alive, and
right.
we just get better at it over time.
Yes. Welcome in, everyone. If you have a small question for Roger, please feel free to ask. Um, we are at the third question,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got for you. The divine said I have usually I do three questions and then my signature awakening question.
Mm-hmm.
But the divine told me there's a fourth one for you
Mm-hmm. Okay.
before we do the signature question. And it's about your daily practices and your flow. How
Mm-hmm.
do you personally stay connected to your intuition and guidance? And what simple practices do you recommend for others to keep up with in the flow of every day? What do you do for yourself, and how would you uh, uh, teach others or share with others?
It's about, and everyone's heard this in different formats, about having a, some people call it your morning routine or something like that. Well, I
Hmm.
developed that a long time ago because I would always do my writing in the morning. I would meditate and then I would do my automatic writing, and so it became a habit. Then, and I did it just about every day. I was doing it, but then when it started being shown to others, then I had to become accountable because I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, it's not just me now. They want to see it too. And so then, but that in itself helped me to stay accountable. When we
Oh,
keep hearing about that, we have to, each person needs to find a way to become accountable to themselves. And
oh,
whatever that is, each day, I'm going to do this because this is about me being with me. You know,
oh,
I did it through writing and all of that, but everybody will find that one thing that says, I matter. And if I can give myself this time every day, it becomes a lot more and become consistent with it, then you start to notice that it's making change. You feel better about yourself. So, and again, it's just that thing that is important to you. It doesn't have to be what I was doing or you or anyone else. It's what matters to them that
okay.
they're saying, yes, I love myself today, and I'm going to give myself this time to do that.
Right, right. Yeah. I hear a lot of not lives, but videos and shorts, and people looking at others and saying you need to be transparent,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to come correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a video once where I just said I only need to be transparent to myself,
Mm-hmm. All right.
because when you being transparent to others,
Mm-hmm.
that opens you up to be judged by
Mm-hmm.
others.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you're transparent to yourself, number one, you're either going to judge yourself or you're going to start discerning
Mm-hmm.
so that you can make different choices. And I just went, okay, I want to be transparent to me, and I want to also sit with myself and say, well, this works for me. How
Mm-hmm.
do I let people know that I'm giving you a little bit of me, of
Mm-hmm.
how I did it, but what I did is not, it's not one size fits
Right.
all,
Exactly. Yeah. You're
right?
just being, yeah,
And
you're
the
being, you're,
divine
yeah.
said, well, this is going to be your tagline. Take
Mm-hmm.
what resonates and leave
You're right.
what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Exactly.
and the divine said, no matter who else is saying it,
Yeah.
put my ego in check before my ego said, somebody probably already said that like 15 years ago. But that was going to be my tagline, because if I'm sharing with you, if
Mm-hmm.
it worked for me, the only way that you know it's going to work for you is if you take it, try it on,
Mm-hmm.
like going to the, department store and trying on your jeans before you buy them
Right.
to
I
see if they fit.
There's a message again that I came across that said naked again. And what that was talking about is that
Yeah,
process that we move through where we're being willing to be seen, that nakedness. And there was this show that was on a while ago. Maybe it's still on. It was called Naked and Afraid.
I
And
remember that. Yes.
yeah, where people they had to expose themselves to other people, and so that's fairly confronting,
Yeah.
because based on how you feel about yourself and that kind of level of confidence that you might have about who you are, doesn't matter what you look like. It's just there are things that we have built in that keep us hidden from ourselves. And so when we have to expose it to someone else, sometimes it breaks us down a lot more, a lot quicker. So it
Yeah.
depends. And everybody's going to find their way with doing that. Sometimes, like you said, it's not, we don't need to expose everything to everyone. It's just becoming more honest with ourselves. And that's the most important thing.
Right. Yeah. That's. Uh, I had I had a lady
Mm-hmm.
who lived in one of the buildings that I used to live in. When I was going through, my shifting of, understanding that religiosity wasn't doing it for me
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And she kind of asked, she says, well, why don't you think that you're a sinner like everybody else?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I wasn't born a sinner. I was born sovereign.
Mm-hmm.
I have this soul that is sovereign for me. It doesn't mean that you have to change your intention for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose to believe that you were a sinner, if you choose to believe that somebody had to die for your sins, if you choose, that's your choice. It's free will. You doing this doesn't change how I view myself. It's one aspect of the same coin. If you flip the coin over, it's still the same coin, you know. And there's many versions of that coin, because there's, at that point it was like 8 billion people in the world who have a different aspect of themselves or expression of themselves. And I thought it was, it made her go, huh. It did, it wasn't like I said it to shut her up, but she asked me a very valid question. And it helped me, or my higher self helped me to understand, oh, that's where I am. I can't hear you.
Slow. Is that it?
Yeah,
That, oh,
there we
good.
go.
Okay. Oh, my thing. Anyway, we have religious beliefs too that have been long-standing, and people will want it to be a particular way. As we evolve as humans, we move outside of some certain patterns and certain
Hmm.
beliefs and all of that. And that's what I heard in the session, the Wilhelm session, was exactly that. That they don't use certain terms like that because they don't want to implant that kind of thinking in us because we can overcome anything and move to a higher state of understanding and not be locked into some old idea.
Right. Yeah. And for her, I understood,
Right.
you
And that
know,
that for certain people it that works for them, and
if,
so we
yeah,
have
if
to
that,
give
yeah.
them that. Yeah, we have to give everyone grace to believe what they believe.
The, yeah, and she actually went, huh, kind of like, you know, I don't think it was like, huh, I'm being, like obstinate or,
Mm,
argumentative. I
right.
just explained to her where I was coming from, and I kind of like now I'm really beginning to understand what unconditional love means,
Yes, yes,
you know.
and that's it. Yeah, and if we could, um, the one thing that Wilhelm keeps talking about is if we can move beyond our judgment
Yes.
of ourselves and judgment of others, and that's really moving to a higher state of understanding. And it's a work
Yes.
in progress for all of us.
It, I'm going to tell you what work it is, but at the same time, it's a beautiful growth journey,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay. So here's my signature question.
Mm-hmm.
If someone is feeling stuck and disconnected from themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just talking about this, we were beginning to talk about this, what one question or insight um, would hold on. I think what one question or insight would you invite them to explore that would that would help them to awaken into their true potential?
What did you wish to gain here? What
Ah.
did you wish to gain here? That's it. And so if they could sit with that question, they will be surprised that awareness will come. It may take a
Hmm.
while. There was one exercise I used to do called sit in it because sometimes I couldn't figure it out. But if I would sit for a while and just let it be there, new awareness would come. And everyone can do that if they give themselves that grace and that time to be able to do it. Because we're stuck because we're resistant to moving into something within us that we're don't understand or afraid of or have
Hmm.
resisted in some way. Because I've
Right.
been a master at that, so I do know.
Oh yeah, I've been stuck many a time, and the ego goes, well, let's go back. We go back
Right.
to the a past moment. See, you did it this way.
Yes.
Go ahead and try it again, thinking that it's going to give you a different result.
Mm-hmm.
But you know better. At some point I would know better.
Mm-hmm.
No, we can't do it that way. But stuck in the pat, in, okay, well, that's the pattern. How do I get from there to a
Mm-hmm.
different pattern?
Right.
You know, and it's like, okay, kind of like that Charlie Brown moment where you go,
Mm-hmm.
"Ugh," you know, how do I get there?
Yeah.
How do I
Yeah.
get there?
It's a moment by moment. That's all we do. Anyway, this has been great.
Yes, yes, it has. And as always with conversations, if you have a question for me before we close, feel free to ask, right? This is conversation. I
Right.
did all the asking questions, but we had some, we have some really good conversations.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
you
Right.
know.
Did any of your guests did they have questions?
No, I didn't see any questions.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but um then I know that we are, ooh,
Yeah.
wow, an hour just flew by,
Yes.
right? So what I would say for everyone who is listening, remember that transformation is a journey.
Yeah.
Every step towards awareness alignment, and self-acceptance matters.
Yes,
That's what I want
absolutely.
to leave, my audience with today.
Good.
Any words that you want to share before
I
we?
put something up on my site, anyadvicefortoday.com. They could go there and find some really great things that I put up just today, as a matter of fact, and they could read so much of it there, and it would help.
Okay. All right. Let them know where they can find you, because I didn't tag anything in
Oh,
the comments.
my website is rogerburnley.com, and there they can find everything. But it's Burnley. But also on any advice, ANY, any advice for FOR today.com. That's where they can find everything.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, guys.
Good.
So I hope you've written it down. If you didn't write it down, catch this in the replay,
Yes.
and some juicy nuggets. I'm just telling you, some juicy nuggets. Wilhelm. I
Wilhelm.
always pronounce it.
Listen,
I
I mess it up too. So,
Wilhelm and Roger Burnley, and the information channeling is a wonderful experience.
mhm,
Okay, everybody's going to channel a different way, a
right,
different. It's about the higher being in connection with you, and expressing through you. For
exactly.
me, channeling is, I don't always remember. I don't know what the divine is saying for someone specifically.
Mm, right,
If it's a shared, if it's a shared consciousness, I will get not random words, but the words that my soul is translating to me.
right, right, right,
Okay,
right.
so guys, um, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Go with the flow. The unknown is ready to make itself known to you, if only you have the embodying questions to
Mm,
ask.
yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great evening. See you, everyone. Okay.
Bye
Bye.
bye. All right, everyone. um I want you to keep embracing your growth, following your inner guidance, and allowing your life to flow with ease and purpose. Until next time, stay curious, stay awakened, and allow the flow. Emerge and then flow. Thank you for joining Soul Awakening Conversations, Emerge and Flow. This will be in replay on my YouTube and on my Spotify. Thank you so much.